Every time I try to make it on my own, every time I try to stand, I start to fall. And all those lonely roads that I have traveled on, there were Jesus. When the life I built came crashing to the ground, when the friends I had were nowhere to be found, I couldn't see it then, but I can see it now. There was Jesus. In the waiting, in the searching, in the healing, in the hurting, like a blessing buried in the broken pieces. Every minute, every moment, where I've been, know where I'm going. Even when I didn't know it, I couldn't see it. There was Jesus. For this man who needs amazing kind of grace, for forgiveness and a price I couldn't pay. And I'm not perfect, so I thank God every day. There was Jesus. In the waiting, in the searching, in the healing, in the hurting, like a blessing buried in the broken pieces. Every minute, every moment, where I've been, know where I'm going. Even when I didn't know it, I couldn't see it. There was Jesus on the mountains, in the valleys, in the shadows of the alleys, in the fire, in the flood. Always is and always was. No, I never walk alone. You're always there. In the waiting, in the searching, in the healing, in the hurting, like a blessing buried in the broken pieces. Every minute, every moment, where I've been, know where I'm going. Even when I didn't know it, couldn't see it. There was Jesus. There was Jesus.
Hey everybody, I want to remind you of the different ways that you could send your tithes and your offering. You could do it through texting. If you don't have access to Google Play or the App Store, just send a text to 601-273-4609 and send it to the word GIVE. After that, you'll receive a text message back and then just follow the simple instructions, the simple steps, and you're all set up. Also, you can use the Tidely app. Just download the app from the Google Play or the App Store, and you can set up the amount that you want to give, and you can send it to Springs of Praise World Outreach Center, or you can mail it to Post Office Box 549, Crystal Springs, Mississippi 39059. If you want to drop it off at the church office, the office is open Tuesdays through Thursdays from 10 a.m. until 4 p.m. And as always, I want to thank you for watching this program.
I hate it when you do that.
Hey, fear not, my friend. I bring you good news of... Okay, no news, just coffee.
Thanks. Decaf, right?
Yep, got you the unleaded stuff.
I keep telling you, you gotta cut back on the caffeine.
What's the real stuff gonna do? Shorten my lifespan? Want me to cut down? I can cut down.
Hey, come on, cut it out.
Chill, bro. I'm just having a little fun. What is it with you and these people anyway?
What do you mean?
I don't know, it just seems like you like them or something. I mean, personally, I don't know what you see in them. I don't know what the boss sees in them. I mean, they're not exactly the sharpest tools in the shed, right?
I'm aware they've had their moments. Still.
Oh, haven't you heard the latest?
No. I've been on assignment.
Check this out. He wants to become one of them.
One of who?
You know, them.
He does?
I know. It's weird, right?
So, what? He's gonna become a president or something like that?
No, see, that's the even crazier part. Is he's gonna come as a baby. He's even got the parents picked out. They're no one special. They're not even married yet. Do you realize that means that he's gonna get born like a human birth? Have you ever seen that?
Yeah, well, he's always doing stuff you don't expect.
You know what? I think it's a bad idea. Coming down as a baby? Doesn't he know what they're like? I mean, who knows what they'll do to him?
I bet he's got a plan. He always does. Besides, we won't let anything bad happen to him.
You really think they're worth the risk? You can never tell what humans are going to do next. One minute they're like, oh, save me, Lord, I'll do anything. And the next minute they're sneaking off, going to do the same thing that got them into trouble in the first place. They're so... Oh.
I get what you're saying. I do. But you know, as I've watched him, I've seen something. I've seen compassion, joy, a sense of wonder. And yeah, they're broken and messed up and they need someone to save them from themselves. So are they worth the risk? I don't know. I guess. But it doesn't really matter what we think. All that really matters is what he thinks. And he thinks they're worth it.
Good morning, everyone. I want to welcome you to my prayer room. I've never preached a sermon or a devotion from here, but I wanted to just share this room with you. I've spent the past 20 years praying in this place, studying the Bible. God has spoken many things into my heart right here and has given me warnings about the future, has consoled my heart and comforted me many, many times. And I felt like it would be fitting to share what I'm talking about today from this setting. In John chapter 11, it tells the story of Lazarus' death and Martha and Mary's stress during his sickness. And I share this because it was right here at this place, right here with this Bible, that God told me over a year and a half to 2 years before my wife passed away that he was going to take my wife from me. That was very hard to take. And so I understand a little bit about the stress that Martha and Mary were going through during Lazarus' sickness. You see, this is a story in chapter 11 about a family in crisis. Something like families are facing today with the coronavirus. It was unavoidable, inescapable, and in every home from time to time there arises a crisis. A dilemma that's so gripping that it challenges your faith to find God in that time of great struggle. Now you see, we pray with much more intensity when there's a personal problem than when there's a sociological problem. Turn on the 6 o'clock news and we hear about the trouble in the Middle East, and we're concerned. We really are. But we're not moved to the point of laying on the floor and beating our fist in the rug and crying out before God. Turn on the 6 o'clock news and we hear about the unrest in Missouri, and we're concerned and we're interested, but not to the intensity that we fast and pray for days. It's far different to have a problem in the country, in the state, in the city, or in your neighborhood. But when you have a problem in your house, how do you get away from that? How do you get away from you? Where do you get away from the problems that are in your house when trouble or sickness or death comes knocking on your door? Let me tell you, it will get your attention. And the main problem of this story in chapter 11 is they felt Jesus didn't understand what they were going through. They said it, both of them, Mary and Martha, "Master, if you had been here, my brother wouldn't have died." You know, I used to believe that there were no magic words. Oh, sure, as a kid, I'd say, "Open sesame," or "abracadabra." But I never took those words seriously and truthfully never knew what they meant. I still don't. But I realize I was wrong. There are, in fact, two words that, when spoken together, are just at the right moment, have amazing, life-changing power. No, they're not magical in the Harry Potter wand-waving sense. But these two words have been known to lift burdens. They've lifted mine. They calm fears. They inspire hope. Timed right, they're just as refreshing as a cold front in July. They're the two words, I understand. I understand. Right behind food, shelter, and clothing, one of the greatest needs is to be understood. Now, if you doubt this, think about what happens when you get in a conflict with your spouse, your boss, or your children. Don't you find yourself constantly rehearsing those speeches in your head as you're driving down the road, or you're pumping gas, or lying in bed at night? Don't you play those scenarios in your mind and you itemize all the clever things that you plan to say the next time that issue is discussed, because you're right? The reason you do this is because you can't stand thinking that the people you're butting heads with don't understand your point of view. And you're determined to enlighten them if it's the last thing you do. Think about it. Many of the most frustrating moments comes when we desperately need understanding and we can't seem to find it. That's why the words, I understand, are so powerful. But the truth is, most of us don't understand each other. I've seen people bound with drugs and alcohol, and I couldn't for the life of me understand how they got in that shape. We've seen pictures of beautiful young women who have no doubt gone to church, played with Barbie dolls, harbored secret school girl crushes, and attended senior proms, and yet with all the potential ahead of them, they choose a lifestyle of prostitution. And after years, just a few years, they look old, worn out, and used up. You may say you understand that, but I don't. And I don't believe neither do you. There are unfathomable human mysteries all around us. And there are people who have become so hopelessly tangled in those lifestyles that no one of us can really understand. If we said that we do, we come off as looking as fake as a $10 toupee. Anyone except Jesus. When he was only 12, he was found in the temple, and it says all who heard him were amazed, listen, at his answers and his understanding. Wow. When he stood in front of a woman at the well, she was a woman who didn't fit in with society. Wrong choice here, wrong turn there. And suddenly her little girl dreams of a fairy tale life were gone forever, she must have assumed. Her long string of failed marriages, not only to mention the current live-in boyfriend, she was a woman that everyone whispered about and they avoided. She had no idea that when she arrived at the well, she was keeping a divine appointment. Her intent was to fill her pitcher and head home, get out of the sun as quickly as possible. Anybody would have had a belly laugh that the town floozy was about to have a life-changing experience that would be talked about till the end of time. You see, volumes have been written about what Jesus said to this woman. His comments about worshiping in spirit and truth are considered amazing and foundational. But you need to realize what is just as important as what Jesus didn't say to this woman. He didn't enumerate her sins. He didn't lecture her for a setting of a bad example. He didn't even ask her for an explanation. He didn't demand an apology. He didn't tell her that she was going to hell if she didn't shape up. Now, it's hard to imagine that a minister standing face to face with the biggest sinner in town, a woman whose life would have made a great Jerry Springer episode, and not even talking about the subject of morality. But that's what Jesus did. Why? Because Jesus understood that she had been hammered enough. Nobody knew better than she did what a mess she had made of her life. She had lived with the consequences of her choices day and night and slept with them all the time. What she needed was not another rebuke, but a deep, refreshing drink of living water. I love John 4:28. It says that after talking with Jesus, that woman left her water jar beside the well and headed back toward town. I can imagine Jesus noticing that forgotten water jar, smiling at the symbolism. She not only brought an empty jar to the well, she brought an empty life, and she was leaving both behind. And finally she found a man who really understood her for the first time in her life. And it changed everything. Isaiah said he was a man of sorrows, acquainted with grief. And one of the translations says the bitterest grief. Let me ask you a question. Is there a pain that outweighs others? One hurt that has no equal, like divorce, the death of a mate, the death of a child, Alzheimer's, cancer. I faced cancer in my family. You know what I think is the bitterest grief? That's the word that's used. It's the one that you happen to be going through at the moment. What agony you happen to be going through right now, Jesus is acquainted with it. Don't be fooled by the fact that he lived a couple of thousand years ago. Satan would love for you to think, well, because Jesus didn't live our hectic, complicated times, he couldn't understand what we're going through. Not true. Pain is pain, whether you're wearing a tunic and sandals or Dockers and a polo. And Jesus had plenty of pain, more than enough to understand how you feel. You see, while I was in my pain, in the loss of my wife, right here in this room, God told me, I understand. I understand giving up your loved one. And I felt his tears wash my heart clean. I think of the little girl at the train station selling she had a little table with little pencils and tablets and gum and little articles sitting on a table. And she was a cripple. That's how she made her living. And a man comes through, he didn't care about anything. He knocked her table over, knocked her down, and was going to his train, late for his train, and she hollered out after him, and he cursed her and turned around and went on off. And all of a sudden, turning the corner was this man who saw what had happened. He picked up the little girl, set her on her stool, picked up all of the items, knowing it was going to make him late. He wouldn't catch his train. But he thought of her and set everything up and asked her, "Are you okay?" She said, I'm okay. And he started to leave to maybe try and catch it. And all of a sudden, she hollered after him. She said, Mister, and he turned around and she said, Mister, are you Jesus? He said, no, child, I'm not Jesus, but I know him. And I believe this is what he would have done because he understands. I wanted to tell you today, Jesus understands right where you are, the pain that you're in, and what you're going through. He understands COVID-19 and that people have lost their jobs, lost their homes, lost their businesses. This is a tough time for some people, but I came with 2 words. He understands. May God bless you and help you know today that you can go to him with everything you're having problems with, and he understands. God bless you. Hey everyone, I wanted to tell you what God spoke to my heart while in this room. He just spoke to my heart that we were to have a revival, and someone would say right in the middle of COVID-19. Yes. In fact, the scripture that was given to me was Isaac sowed in the midst of famine, and God gave him 100-fold return. He sowed in the worst time, and God gave him 100-fold return. And that's what God spoke to my heart and said, in the midst of really not a good time to have meetings, I want you to have some meetings. Now, I'm excited about it. I believe that we have got a great evangelist. I feel like Brother Foss, he's proven himself to be a powerful man of God. And we're going Sunday morning through Wednesday night. Sunday morning at 10:45, Sunday evening at 6, Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday at 7. And we're expecting powerfully a move of God like we've never seen before. And we want you to come. Join us. I believe that in the midst of COVID-19, God is going to pour out his Spirit in an unprecedented way. Come join us, would you?